Black Adam is officially out in theaters after 15 years in development hell. The film is directed by Jaume Collet-Serra, but as you can tell, everything in this project has been shepherded by The Rock. He was the main driving force in this project getting off the ground at WB and actually becoming a full-fledged feature film. Today, we are answering the question, is Black Adam worth your time and money? I'm gonna be giving you the good, and then I'm gonna be mixing the bad and the ugly because holy shit, they went all in on that one. If you're looking for a little bit of context, the movie came out in October 21st, and the initial reviews were not looking promising at all. For example, everybody knows Rotten Tomatoes, and its score is sitting at a rotten 39%. That is worse than Wonder Woman 1984, and you already know my opinions on that. It's due to butt cheeks. With that said, I don't base my movie-going preferences on a movie aggregator, so I went to see it for myself, and here's what I thought about the film. With a 2-hour, 5-minute runtime, this is an action fest through and through. On the positive side, some of the moments where you see Black Adam be an absolute menace to society are really fun to see, mostly because of his long history in the comics of being a complex anti-hero that is not afraid to get his hands dirty to impart his brand of justice. On the kudos side, The Rock absolutely embodies Black Adam in this film. Every single moment where he's going against the mercenaries or the JSA itself, he is absolutely a force to be reckoned with. Besides that, however, the performance from Dwayne Johnson is mostly just him in a Black Adam costume. For some ungodly reason, he seems a little bit uninterested to be in the role that he's playing. Listen, every project has its own tone, its own vision, and I'm not trying to be super nitpicky, but for example, Black Adam is meant to be this pompous, hubris-filled figure that knows he is more powerful than anybody that he's in the room with. Naturally, that leads to some tonally rich storytelling and dialogue between him and his opponents, even if they're superheroes. I know it's not Dwayne's fault in this case, but most of his dialogue is just cheesy one-liners. With that said, when it comes to the action, I felt the gravitas in his performance, so I do want to see Dwayne Johnson pick up the mantle in future projects. Moving on to the other two major positives in the film, one of them being Dr. Fate, played by the amazing Pierce Brosnan. This man hasn't been James Bond for more than 15 years, and I still feel the suave demeanor that this character demands. This version of Kent Nelson as Dr. Fate is portrayed as a senior member of the JSA, aka the Justice Society of America. Some people say he's just a discount Doctor Strange. You have no idea who the fuck this man is. Kent is the wielder of the Helmet of Fate, which basically gives him mystical sentience. He is a sorcerer of biblical proportion, and what he does in this film is serve as one of the narrative threads that keeps this thing semi-decent. He is both the combat strategist and the emotional center of this entire operation. Of course, they used his mystical powers to try to set up the fact that he can see the future, or at least predict it in some shape or form, and as soon as they did that, I was like, look, he's gonna bite the dust. I already know it. The only issue that I had with Dr. Fate, even though he's one of the pillars of this entire project, is the fact that I didn't see quite enough of him. While he does get some moments where Pierce Brosnan's dynamic acting range allows him to fully explore the confines of the character, it's just not enough. Most of the times that we see him on screen, it is a completely CGI look. However, in those moments that we do get to see Dr. Fate in action, you can feel the full scope of his power, and they actually introduced a move from the Injustice games. I recognized that shit super quickly. It was a great little Easter egg for fans of the franchise. There were two remaining aspects that made this film actually worth going to the theater for. One of them is Aldous Hodge as Hawkman, and the second one we're gonna mention at the end of the video. If you've seen Justice League Unlimited, you are familiar with him, with Hawkgirl, with the nth metal weapons that they wield. They are absolutely overpowered. I remember first seeing Aldous Hodge during his stint in Black Mirror, and I was like, this man has the acting chops to fully lead an entire franchise. In this case, he did as much as he could with the material that was given, and while I personally loved and appreciated his commitment and conviction to trying to stop Black Adam and actually follow the orders set forth by Amanda Waller, it seems a little bit one note to me. He has his blinders on the entire runtime of the film, trying to do things his way or the highway, and it ends up costing him. During the plethora of action set pieces sprinkled throughout the film, he does prove himself to be a menace and a worthy leader of the JSA. So I'm gonna need somebody to explain to me why in the pivotal moments of this film, in terms of his narrative structure, he's supposed to be waxed by everybody in the fucking screen. The mace that he's wielding has the entire force of the earth behind it with his nth metal powers, and he doesn't even land a single shot. Granted, I might have to watch the film again to grasp the full scope of what they were trying to do with his narrative thread. I will say it was a little bit of a disappointment. I wanted to see more development from him. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the bad and the ugly in this film. Numero uno, and perhaps the most jarring thing that still haunts me to this day is the fact that this is a huge exposition dump. Listen, I understand. It doesn't help when the marketing of this movie steals the thunder from the most emotional moments in this film. Quick example, we are told that Black Adam got his powers after being killed during one of the revolts in Kandak, and then the mystical wizards find him worthy of being the champion. However, the marketing told us that the actual champion was meant to be his son. We got multiple takes of Black Adam holding his son's head in his deathbed. And then they go over the first 15 minutes of the film and throw us an exposition truck the size of a blue whale surrounding the crown of Sabak, the issues that everybody's going to face if this crown of demon lords is released upon the earth, and of course the fact that Adam's son is meant to be the most conscious and altruistic of the bunch in the entire city of Kandak. What I mean to say with all this context is that there are pivotal moments of emotion that are meant to draw us in and help us care about the characters. When you use the marketing to give us that before we even get into the theater, it falls flat on its face. So sadly, I didn't care about the king, and I didn't even care about the storyline with the crown because I knew we were gonna see the bad guy by the end. Most of the DC films so far have not been super revolutionary when it comes to its action set pieces. There's a lot of computer-generated images. Much like their counterparts at Marvel, the second and third act are usually plastered with a ton of CGI action set pieces that don't really serve much to the story if they're not set up correctly. In this case, sadly, there's so much action that almost none of it matters. Not in the sense that it's uninteresting, don't get me wrong. What I am trying to say is that the CGI used in this film did not help the story narratively or cohesively at all. And second, when the quality of your CGI is memed even before the movie's release, you know you have an issue. What I would have done is balance out the amount of action set pieces and truly hone in on upping the quality of said images. Stemming from that is the overuse of the slow motion effect we've seen time and time before. We get it, some of these characters are faster than light and they're supposed to be the most menacing creatures we've ever seen on screen, but they don't all need super slow-mo effects for us to visualize that. Overuse of this effect actually hurt the development of some of the characters, specifically in this case, Cyclone. I'm a big fan of Quintessa Swindell, especially for her work in Euphoria, but in this case, she is underutilized, and in the moments that she does get her chance to shine by using her powers as Cyclone, they're all super slow-mo effects, and they never really add much to the story. She is the truest definition of a side character in this flick when she had the most amount of potential. Her entire origin story is basically just one throwaway line that they just add in there for comedic relief. That's a big no-no for me, especially when you have other talented actors like Noah Centineo that are again thrusted to the sidelines. Much like the protagonist Teth Adam, Al Rothstein's portrayal of Adam Smasher is basically just one-liners the entire way through. This character is the comedic relief. Some people are going to equate him to Deadpool because his mask looks eerily similar, and also it's just comedy the entire way that he's in the screen. As the youngest member of the JSA in terms of the seniority standpoint, I expect him to be a little bit kooky and local. He's a noob, okay? He's new to his job. What I will say is that I expected more in terms of the character development, both for them two and the rest of the JSA in general. Of course, that has to take us to the most memeable moments from this film, especially the little kid. Listen, I'm not gonna pile on a little kid who's getting his acting debut, especially since the fact that the internet has been doing so for the past week uncontrollably. I just feel like his presence in the film is basically just a 90s vibe replacement mixed in with a couple of cheesy one-liners that help set up Black Adam as a true anti-hero. He tried to do his best with what he was given. I'm just gonna blame it on the writing and move forward. The last part of the film in terms of the bad and the ugly is of course the villain. It's a oh my god. Three things: forgettable, uninteresting, and super predictable. We knew from the beginning that the entire subplot surrounding this crown of Sabak was going to lead to him being resurrected from whatever hell he came from and fighting Black Adam as the true champion of Kandak. That final battle sequence in the third act is nothing short of bleh. You get a slightly emotional moment from the spoiler alert, the death of Dr. Fate, but besides that, he waxes Hawkman and then he fights Black Adam. We knew exactly what The Rock was gonna do. He layeth the smackdown upon his candy ass.
Turn that sumbitch sideways and stick it straight up. You can do it!
You know what The Rock is cooking. We could have seen that ending from a mile away. So now it is time to talk about what everybody wanted to see. What is the saving grace of Black Adam? Spoiler, it's the post-credit scene. By now, you know that Black Adam is not following the traditional anti-hero route. He is a superhero that often unalives people as well. While I personally disagree with this story decision because the best moments of Black Adam is when he's morally ambiguous and imparts his own brand of justice on top of that, in this case, he is the champion of Kahndaq. He is the hero of this oppressed people. Of course, having a metahuman with the powers of multiple gods is not something that Amanda Waller is going to leave unanswered. In the post-credits scene, Viola Davis reprises her role as Amanda Waller, sends a drone to Kahndaq, and tells Black Adam straight up, now that you have been crowned the champion of Kahndaq, this will be your prison. You didn't want to stay in mine, now you will stay in yours. If you leave said city, I will be sending help from other planets in order to keep you in check. Of course, Black Adam in his newfound suit is like, listen lady, I don't take orders from nobody. And he blasts that drone to smithereens. And then we got the reveal of the century. Henry Cavill is back as Superman. He's got the curl in his hair, the demeanor, the swagger. His suit is color corrected. The saturation is just on point. It is everything we wanted to see from Superman and his triumphant return. The dialogue itself is pretty standard. Look, Black Adam, we have to talk. That makes a ton of sense. We just wanted to see the moment actually come to life. The only gripe that I had with the entire post-credit scene is the fact that we already saw it coming because they used it as the major selling point for the marketing. The Rock went on multiple talk shows through the entire press cycle for this project, teasing the fact that he is touted as the most unstoppable and unbreakable force on this planet, and that the most unstoppable force in the universe is still on the sidelines. Listen, Papa, we're not dumb. We're stupid, but we're not dumb. We know that means Superman. So they teased it for 2 weeks, and as soon as it came out, it was absolutely glorious. I'm not gonna fucking lie. Seeing Henry Cavill back on the screen made me feel good. It made me feel the same emotions that I had reading these comics as a child. Superman deserves to be on the big screen, and Henry Cavill is my pick to continue carrying that mantle, especially since we had a different version of him show up in the Zack Snyder's Justice League full fucking cut. And Henry Cavill, to me, is the perfect choice to take that mantle and keep it moving forward. We already saw what he could get with some major overhauls when it comes to the tonal and the story structure in Zack Snyder's Justice League, but he deserves another chance to shine in the sun. Bottom line, what makes Black Adam a success or a failure? On the bad side, we have a massive exposition dump, shoddy CGI, and some lackluster storytelling that doesn't really give much to the DCEU. It doesn't expand on the origin stories of its characters correctly, and it doesn't add anything notable to the lore of the expanded DC universe. On the positives, having all of this action on screen and seeing The Rock embody Black Adam is worth the price of admission. There's going to be a ton of memeable moments, and if you can suppress your disbelief when it comes to the villain arc, or whatever that sad excuse for a villain arc is in this project, you are gonna have a decent time. Simply put, this is an average superhero movie with a ton of promise for the future, especially when you talk about that end credit scene, because it did everything that it was supposed to do. Hype us up for the return of the Man of Steel and set forth the possible confrontation between him, Shazam, and of course, Black Adam. With that said, does this movie get my Tropical Joe seal of approval when it comes to rewatchability? Only for the post-credit scene, I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to stop rating movies on a 1 to 10 scale because that immediately puts it in a ranking with all other movies that we expect to be of a higher and lower quality. So I'm just gonna say that in terms of a rating scale, this is simply just a C+ and bordering on the B-. If you're a hardcore DC fan, this is worth your time. But if you're just a casual fan looking for just a 2-hour escape from reality watching The Rock beat up some people into high heaven, sure, go ahead and watch it or wait until it's out on streaming. With all that craziness out of the way, let me know what you thought about the film in the comments down below. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know if you actually thought it was worth the wait for 15 years. And of course, if you're enjoying the channel, make sure you like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe with the noti bell on so you can get an instant noti for whenever I go live or whenever I post a video for the next one. That is it from me. I'll see you soon, mi hermana. That is it from me. I'll see you on the next one.